Welcome. Thanks. It was great to connect with you prior. I'm very excited to be able to have a conversation with you and let you share with the Brand Innovators community what you're working on with Taylor Brands and how some of the retail brands that you work on are evolving and, thinking about what it means to be omni-channel. So, maybe if you want to spend a minute introducing yourself and, the work that you do, generally speaking, for Taylor Brands, and then we can jump into some more specifics on things that you're doing, either as a result of COVID or just as you think about how do you continue to provide that seamless experience between that online and in-store shopping for the customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And thanks, Jessica, and to the Brand Innovators team for having me here today. This is my first Brand Innovators event and super happy to be here. So just a little background, those of you who don't know Taylor Brands. So Taylor Brands is actually the name of the company that owns a portfolio of brands that are leaders in the menswear space. So it includes Joseph A. Bank. It includes Moores, which is a brand up in Canada. It includes K&G Fashion Superstores, which is actually a brand more regional based out of the Atlanta area. And we sell menswear, women's wear, and kids clothing in K&G. And then we're the owners of Men's Warehouse as well. And that's the brand that I probably spend the most time on as well. And we're in the midst of an amazing transformation journey. So we probably won't talk too much about it here, but we did file for Chapter 11 in early August. And I think we're really very much looking forward to the successful immersion or emergence from that at the end of November. Everything's very much on track for that. And, like many of our colleagues in the retail space, COVID was a really challenging time for all of us. And, your store footprint gets closed for a quarter. That does a pretty big hit to your business. But what that did do for us is actually help accelerate a lot of the transformation that we already had underway. So I've actually was a consultant for about 10 years, was like in packaged goods way back when, went into e-commerce and worked with eBay for about 6 years, and then was consulting for about 10. Taylor Brands was one of my clients, and I was brought on to help with, my partner and I came in and helped with brand strategy, and then just generally started getting more and more dug into the marketing and looking at different ways to sort of modernize the marketing mix, and as the business itself was looking to modernize. And so this transformation journey that Taylor Brands has been on, everything from modernizing the store footprint, modernizing store interiors, modernizing the way business is conducted, and particularly really ramping up e-commerce, all was well underway prior to COVID hitting. And we were starting to see, sort of the benefits of that work, where all 4 brands had positive store sales comps to the prior year in February. So we were on a really great track. And then, of course, COVID hit. But the blessing in disguise has been that it really forced us to accelerate a lot of the things that we had underway. So clearly for everybody, it's really accelerated shopping online, and that's been the same for us. But it's also enabled us to add a lot more to our omni-channel experience. Pick up in store under development, but the team jumped on it and took basically what would have been 6 months worth of development work into 2 months, and we launched that last month and are seeing amazing traction there. So to me, that's the epitome of the omni-channel experience, right? That you shop on something on your phone, and then the same day or the next day you can walk into the store and get the product. That's going to be critical this holiday. Everything we're hearing is that shipping is already at holiday levels, and it's just going to get slower and more expensive. And so having the ability to continue to be able to pick up for free the product same day or next day is actually going to be a real advantage. We've also been doing a lot
in terms of store footprint. I think that convenience factor of being able to buy online, pick up in store is extremely valuable around holiday for sure, but especially as people are trying to do more and more of their day-to-day shopping, if they can, online as a result of sheltering at home. How many stores do the brands have? And I think that's important to maybe talk about, because it works well for you guys because you are so distributed across the country. And so, is that part of some of the messaging that you've been bringing out so that consumers know that there's one just around the corner, that it's easy to find a store near them?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Jessica. So we have a store footprint across our brands of over 1,000 stores. For Men's Warehouse, we have 700 plus stores across the country, and we're in every major metro market. So literally there is a store just around the corner for almost everyone. And so, yeah, that is a huge advantage for us in that, we're not a pure play online where we're totally reliant on the shipping and the shipping infrastructure to deliver products to our customers. And, menswear, like a lot of fashion, like there's still a real benefit to being able to go into a store, see the product in person, maybe do the research online beforehand and figure out what it is that you're looking for, but then go into the store, talk to our style experts who have been selling menswear for years and are just experts at knowing what it is that helps a guy look good and feel great, and help him put together an outfit for whatever moment he's looking to dial it up for.
Yeah, and so the buy online, pick up in store is something that got accelerated as a result of COVID. Are there things that are new and innovative around any of the brands also as a result? So something that you saw what was happening and figured out, specifically apparel and the retail industry was one of the categories most immediately impacted by the inability for people to go in store, touch and feel and shop. And so what are you guys doing as a company to, help consumers feel safe and comfortable and confident, going back to the stores, right? Because, I think Cynthia said this in the last panel, like we all thought this was going to be a few weeks and then things were going to spring back to normal. That's not exactly the case. And so, what is that new normal and what is that in-store experience that you guys are thinking about or bringing to life as a result of, where we are today?
Yeah, no, it's such a good call out. And obviously, like every customer relationship is built on trust. And, most important is that they can trust that they can be safe when they come to your store, right? So, and we're doing a number of sort of basic things that everybody's doing in terms of social distancing and, making sure that when someone tries on clothing, it sits for at least 24 hours to ensure that it's safe as well. Some of those fundamentals, but one of the things unique to menswear is obviously when you go to try on a suit or any kind of more fitted, tailored clothing, fit is really important, right? And the measurement is super important. And, there's always the classic picture of like the guy with the tape measure around his neck, and then he whips it off his neck and he reaches around behind the guy and measures his chest. Like that's just so not happening right now, So we actually partnered with, we piloted with two different companies, have settled on one, and we're now offering a touch-free measurement technology that enables a customer to walk into the store. We take photographs of the customer, and based on those photographs, really accurately can assess his measurements, and therefore the style experts are able to take that information and build an outfit that fits him perfectly because of those measurements. So one of those things that we had been talking about before, think it's kind of cool and wouldn't that be neat to do in our store, and it became evident that it was actually like mission critical to have something like that in our stores, and we were able to implement it within, again, a couple of months.
That's amazing. I've been to some conferences in the past and you see brands talking about how they're using augmented reality or AI to enhance the experience that they have with consumers. And sometimes it's just for fun.
Yeah.
And in your case, and for the brand and your customer, it is a requirement, and you're finding a way to enhance the experience, shorten the amount of touch points and time, and innovate with new technologies that are available as well. So that's really exciting. And so you mentioned something else when we were chatting prior about the tables, and so can you talk a little bit about that as well? I was going to try to explain what they were, but I realized like there's no way I'll give them any justice.
So we have just this week, actually, we announced that we've launched what we're calling our next gen store, which is we have a store that's outside of Houston, Texas, in Shenandoah, Texas, and this store is like it's the store of our future. Like we believe that very much it does all of the things we're talking about in terms of blending the online shopping experience and the offline shopping experience. It takes the best of what what we know how to do in terms of serving our customers and guiding them through a menswear shopping experience, but also enables them, partly more relevant now with COVID, enables them to actually do some of that shopping themselves. And we have a number of really cool technology features in the store that are not just there because they're cool tech. They're there because we believe they truly enhance the experience. So one of them is a shirt wall that basically has all of the shirts available to the customer lined up. But rather than him having to totally dig through, we also have the ability for you to actually select on an interactive display, what's the right fit for you, what's the right size for you, is that product available in the store? If not, then you can order it online right there. The other thing that we have is these tables that have like an interactive display on the top of them. So you can bring over the product and lay it down, and then the table in conjunction with the style expert starts to help give you suggestions as to how to outfit that. So if you bring over a sport coat, it'll say like, here's some suggestions for shirts, here's some suggestions for like denim or other pants, and really helps the guy like figure out what would be the right sort of outfit to put together with that. So he can do that on his own. He can do that in conjunction with the style expert. So just pieces that like start to use technology that's available now in a way that truly enhances that overall experience. And so we're testing these things out in this next gen store. And then we will be taking elements of this as we learn what's working best for customers and bringing that to life across our entire fleet.
That's so cool. And I think if you think about, people who are doing research online and buying in store, or, in some categories, it's the opposite. It is that intersection of those two. And how do you provide that right mix of in-store interaction with the brand and the product, but ease of use and ability to get it brought to their home if you don't have it there, they don't have to go find another store or go back home, search for it online. So that's really exciting. And so when I think about Men's Warehouse, there's, buying these like 3-piece suits or renting tuxedos for these big moments and big events. Some of these events weren't happening as a result of COVID, or at least got postponed, happened in a slightly different way. How has that impacted the way that you think about being present and being part of those moments still with your customer? They may be happening in a slightly different way, but they're, how are you adapting the way that you're communicating with these customers and getting them what they need?
Yeah. So our rental business is a huge part of our business. And actually, we have a pretty large share of the entire rental tuxedo market across the country. I tell people that I work with Men's Warehouse, and one of the first things they say is like, oh, I got my tuxedo for my wedding there, or I got my tuxedo for my prom there. Way for us to bring people into the brand as well. So critical part of our business to ensure that it stays relevant, even in these times where, certainly, unfortunately, many proms got canceled or postponed. Many weddings have been postponed or changed in some way. But what we're finding is that a lot of them are still happening, and that's amazing. And, they may be happening in a very different way. Maybe that's smaller party. It's like a lot of it's virtual, whatever, but they are still happening. And so, certainly while our stores were closed, we needed to find a way to still continue to be able to fulfill on that commitment to our customers. So we actually enabled a fully end-to-end online experience for finding, renting, and returning your tuxedo. So we implemented one fun product that, again, started, this one I have to admit, started as it's just really fun tech, but it's actually super relevant now to the whole process. And we see it actually drives a tremendous amount of increase in our conversion rate, is that you can load up a photo of yourself and then literally try on rent that's available to rent or to buy in our formal wear section, and see what it looks like on you. So you can try out different colors. You can try out do you want the full 3-piece? Do you want just a really cool dinner jacket? And so I totally encourage you guys to go try that out. It's actually super fun. We did a team Zoom where everybody had to show up with the photo of them with the try on. But it's a great way for our customers to then see, what does it look like on me? They can rent it with more confidence. And then we ship the tuxedo directly to them. They go to their amazing event. And when they're done, they pack it back up in the box and send it right back to us. And they don't even ever have to walk in the store. So again, trying to just meet our customer where he is and when our stores were closed, obviously that was important, but even now as they're open, it just saves the number of trips back and forth to the store as well. And just, again, makes it more convenient, which is one of the things that we're really laser focused on delivering for our customer.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I can't say I knew this before chatting with you is, I didn't realize how, I'll use the word last minute, tuxedo purchase or rentals are in the planning process for weddings, right? You think about the amount of time that you have to book your place or order your dress as the bride. And so there's that. And then if you mentioned prom, and so obviously, Men's Warehouse, you think about men in suits. Very quickly, your mind goes to the business professional or your father, someone older in whatever, generation that is. But prom, weddings, that's a much younger consumer. And I think these like fun technology, easier ways to do things than the way you thought your older brother or your father has done so is probably really important to the brand right now, both, as you think about digital transformation and making e-commerce part of the mix. But can you talk a little bit more about the age of your target consumer? And so sort of surprised to hear you mention prom, but of course, like you need a tuxedo or a suit for your prom as well. And so, do you have different is that a priority for the brand to, age down? Do you have two very clear and distinct different audiences that you market to differently?
Yeah, so not really in terms of marketing to differently, because we believe that some of our core insights about our customer are kind of universal truths for guys that, a lot of guys don't always know what it is that's going to make them look their best. And, even if they do, they sometimes want a little bit of support or suggestion on it. And so, that's something that we offer all of our customers. What we are doing, though, is making sure that we continue to stay relevant in the products and assortment that we offer those customers. And so, we're always looking to bring in new, younger customers into the brand, just, as a brand health thing, but also just because we believe that we've got that assortment. So we've got a brand called Paisley and Gray, which is like an amazing brand and actually like incredible styles and patterns and really bold prints and that kind of thing. And then we also just brought in recently alternative apparel, which is a very kind of eco-conscious, like very much leisure wear, like sweatsuits, like sweatpants, hoodies, that type of thing, which definitely is a new part to our assortment. And as we look to kind of like
totally acceptable business and wedding attire.
Totally. Exactly. In fact, our fall shoot, we actually styled like a suit where the guy's wearing a hoodie with the suit jacket over top, suit pants and sneakers, and like that's a real look, and that it looks amazing. And it's actually something that we think is just so much more relevant for the way guys want to dress today, where they want to be casual. I mean, everyone's been wearing sweats and leggings and hoodies and all that now for like months, and we're all kind of maybe ready to just like dial it up a little, but we still want to be comfortable. And so, finding ways to make sure that our customers understand what's in our assortment and how our clothes are really made to feel comfortable, and different ways to style it is just kind of a fun part of it all.
Yeah, and so the new line that you were talking about, was that something that was in the works before COVID, and it's just really taken a more center stage now based on the fact that people have been dressing more casually and not needing to go out, and there's less of those moments or occasions where you feel required to, or you dress up because it gives you more confidence and sense of, like, okay, I'm ready, I'm going, I look good, I feel good. And so which came first?
Well, I mean, we've obviously, I think like alongside that, we're really known for tuxedos and formal wear. But, we do have a really broad assortment of casual, like business casual clothing. What we have been trying as part of this whole transformation that was pre-COVID was making sure that our customers knew what we had in our assortment that was more tied to more casual usage occasions. And certainly work itself is a more casual usage occasion now. So that was already very much in the works. I think, bringing on alternative apparel was a little bit in response to all the like, Zoom meetings and, people sitting around their sweatpants and all that kind of stuff. But absolutely is 100% in line with our overall strategy to just make sure that we've always got a super relevant assortment for the way guys want to dress.
Okay. And so when you think about the way guys want to dress, how are you finding new customers or meeting customers when they're in that mindset or, moment in their life where they need to have the tuxedo or the suit, whether it's to purchase or rent? I'll go back to, you mentioned prom again, and you just thinking about the younger consumer and the amount of time they spend on social media. Are you guys active on social? Are there platforms that skew younger, like TikTok, for instance, that are becoming more of a priority, whether it's from a test and learn perspective or really investing in to meet them where they are? You mentioned that earlier, meeting them where they are is so critical to the brand. Talk about social media and the different platforms and how either for each of the brands or, the business at large, you view that space.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, when I spoke earlier about us like modernizing our ways of working within the company, and marketing was a big part of that. The brand had traditionally been very much like sort of offline type of marketing, and TV is still a part of our mix and will probably be for a long time because it delivers incredible reach. But we also needed to like be much more active in our digital channels than we had been, just because that is where customers, almost every shopping journey begins online. And so we wanted to be there. Plus, it's also just like you say, where they are, right, and where they're spending an increasing amount of their time. And as we look for the younger consumer, it's also super critical. So one of the changes that we implemented, almost 2 years ago now, was actually really dialing up the paid social activity for the business. We had actually spent probably more time and effort and money on the organic side, and there wasn't like sort of the balance that needs to be there. Like organic and kind of all of that is so critical for bringing brand value and brand perceptions and really building customer relationships, but also trying to make sure that we're there in scale in front of the customer through paid social was part of the mix that was kind of missing. So we now have a very significant presence on Facebook and Instagram, and we are starting to sort of explore and experiment with some other platforms, whether it's a Pinterest or a TikTok. And actually through our partner with the Joseph Abood brand, who we have exclusive distribution for, we are actually trying out some stuff with TikTok to see what we can learn from that and figure out what makes sense for us as we think about next year.
Oh, that's great. I can imagine some really fun content coming out of that, like
we've already
suits, like dancing.
And in fact, like we're actually looking at like how do we take some of the, like, just because TikTok is becoming such a pervasive part of culture and all that. And I was blown away by like, I actually had my daughter help me build a profile. Like, okay, let's pretend I'm a 25-year-old guy. Like, what would I be looking at? What would I be paying attention to? And there's so much that we can learn as a brand from what these amazing creators are doing and what like people are gravitating to. What I love about it too is that like there's absolutely this element of guys like wanting to dress up and wanting to like put that extra bit of polish on what they have to offer. And I think like, like a recognition that clothes actually contribute to that and contribute to a guy feeling really great inside as much as it's about an outside thing. So I think there's such a cool undercurrent of stuff like that happening on TikTok that we can learn a ton from.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's, I think, happening in my living room. I'm not on TikTok. My kids are too young, but last week they got bored and they had a fashion show, and my 4-year-old put on like a collared shirt and a vest that he wore at my sister's wedding and a fedora, and he was just like wanting to like get fancy. Those are the words he used. But and so yeah, it's sort of for fun and for feeling good, and then for all the real like practical moments in life. And some of the platforms, I think you mentioned, it's interesting to say that you were testing on TikTok. What's interesting about the way that TikTok serves up content is, yes, you can like content and you can follow content creators, but they do a really good job serving up content based on things that you're consuming and engaging with. And so there's this interesting discovery element of it that's, I think, maybe akin to Pinterest. Then whoever I follow on Instagram is who I see content from, and so I'd imagine that you'll get some really good learnings, and we'll see some great results on TikTok, because that's where they're at. They're having fun, and who doesn't like getting dressed up every once in a while? And so putting those two together is really great.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Before we transition to questions, just is there anything else that you'd like to share around retail or, making that seamless experience from online to in-store? I know this was a pretty broad topic for today around retail and commerce and CPG. And so leave it sort of open-ended. What else do you want people to know, or, any lessons learned that you can share with the group?
Well, oh my God, lessons learned, like, holy cow. I don't know about everybody else, but like I have learned so much in the last, like, whatever it is now, 6-8 months. Like it's just been unbelievable. I would say one of the biggest learnings that we had is as you think about like your brand and positioning your brand during these times, and whether it was obviously all the concerns that people had around safety and all that related to COVID, of course, like all the like stuff that's been going on around racial injustice, and brands playing, fortunately now, a much more active role in taking a stand and like helping use their platforms to give a voice to people who have been treated unjustly, and I think, like, to me, that was one of the biggest learnings, is like what a responsibility brands have to actually like use their platform to help further important causes. And I think like one of the things that we've taken on, in addition to making very clear our company's position and stance on racial injustice and how we just will not tolerate inequality, is actually the importance of obviously what's coming next month or a month plus from now with the election, and how important it is for people to vote and to ensure that their voice is heard, because we're not going to get to a point of resolution on this until people's voice is heard. And so we have been supporting the efforts of vote.org. And just this week, we launched, in conjunction with National Voter Registration Day, we launched a campaign across our social platforms, through our email and our websites, to really raise awareness of the service that vote.org provides. So it enables people to get information on and how to quickly register. I mean, it's literally, you can do it on your phone in minutes. Like, it's the easiest thing. It gives people advice on just voting in general. It gives people information on where their polling location is. So kind of like a very apolitical resource for people to learn more about what they need to do to ensure that their voice is heard. So I think, like, just, the role that we can play, and that, we're encouraging partners and all that to also engage in, is just, helping use our platforms to raise awareness about causes like that.
And it's so important right now. And I love that the cause is to allow other people's voices to be heard, right? And so it's just so important. Well, thanks for that. I do have a couple questions before we run out of time. And so let's jump right in. So the first, many brands have drastically reduced media budgets over the past few months. How has your media plan over the past few months adjusted? Has it been reduced? Have you gotten more creative and efficient with your strategies? Is there anything around media that you can share with the group?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things. I mean, again, this is part of our transformation, was just rebalancing our mix a little bit more and making sure that we really were in all the places where our customers are. TV, like I said, will continue to be a big part of it. We believe that it's critical to delivering the reach that we want to drive awareness and engagement with our brand. But we also, want to make sure that we're there throughout all parts of the funnel, and therefore our digital spend has significantly increased. The other thing that we've dialed up a little bit more across our brands is online video. And so, we all have like been binging on Netflix and Hulu and everything else. And so obviously not Netflix, but wanting to make sure that we've got presence on Hulu, making sure we've got presence on, streaming and sports programs, that type of thing as well. So that, we're still reaching that kind of TV audience, but, no matter what platform they're actually using to access it.
Okay, well, so maybe this is a follow-on to that question. How do you approach emerging media channels, and how do they factor into your overall strategy?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good question. And I think it's, we always have to be paying attention to watch those. And I wouldn't say our brands are like the cutting edge, like, we're going to be the first on some like random new platform. But we absolutely want to be aware of them and watch them, and then build a test plan. So a really ingrained discipline within our business now is around test and learn, and structuring, tests that help us really understand the impact of the things that we do. And so that continues to be something that we'll do as we go forward.
Okay, so I have a follow-on question to that. So we talked more about your brand and how you are present for the customer within some of these emerging channels or more established social platforms. Do you partner with key opinion leaders, celebrities, or influencers on any of these platforms to help broaden that reach and have that, from someone who's experienced the brand perspective?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say we've done as much recently on that. Like our goal first was to make sure we shored up the fundamentals and we had all the mechanics right and in place. And now we're absolutely at that point where we're ready to start like finding, the right and relevant ways to build content. And we've got some cool collaborations and partnerships in terms of products that we're bringing to market, and therefore like that will influence some of the marketing that we do. And then, again, like back to TikTok, but like one of the things that was really impressive with how they I clearly learned from other platforms is like making available to advertisers like their content creator marketplace. So you can basically go in and, as a brand, you can go in and do your own thing, but you're going to get a lot more momentum and probably a little more credibility with the audience on your first few forays into the platform if you do it in conjunction with creators that already are known and have sort of a certain kind of following and style and approach. And this marketplace enables brands to kind of help find who would be the right fit for that as well. So I think there's, as a brand, like always trying to tell the story yourself is only going to get you so far. And I think you have a lot more kind of credibility and connection with the customer when you've got others advocating for you and kind of reinforcing the things that, you want to say, but they sometimes resonate a lot better. It's kind of like when I tell my kids something and they don't really pay attention and then they hear the same thing from somebody else and they're like, Mom, you wouldn't believe what so-and-so said. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
Happens every day in this house. Yeah. Okay. Well, so one more question. And so you touched on this a little bit when you were talking about spending a little bit more on streaming media, but just maybe if we can expand beyond, alternative ways to reach TV type audiences. People are working from home. There's distant learning. It's altered the way people are consuming media and their digital habits. Mm-hmm. So, what are you seeing when it comes to those types of behavioral changes, and how are they adapting things that you're doing from a marketing standpoint? And so is there anything else besides how you're investing in media that is shifting as a result of new consumer behaviors?
Yeah, I mean, I think the investment shift is probably the biggest in terms of just recognizing like where people are and how you're going to be in front of them at the right moment. But it's even kind of just recognizing like the influence that that's having on culture, and whether that's like how we shoot our next TV spot that is going to air on TV, but the look and feel of it may actually be something that would almost feel like you were seeing it on a digital channel, or if it's just like the way that we drive. I mean, certainly, I think where we can bring commerce into platforms, like we've been experimenting with our Joseph A. Bank brand on Instagram with stories and making sure that like we're actually making our stories shoppable, and helping get people to our website through Instagram in a way that, like lots of brands do, but we hadn't done before, right? So it's just, again, like, it may not be about like trying to get somebody to come just through a search ad. Well, that's still something that's super important to us, but like it may also be people, driving traffic through other platforms where we know people are spending a ton of time.
Yeah. It's so important. I think that's part of it. It's like measuring, optimizing, repeating. It's how do you make those incremental changes that mm-hmm. have positive impact for the business. And so, I know you made a comment like, yeah, maybe it's common knowledge for many marketers or brands to include that swipe up when you're doing things on Instagram. But it still isn't happening 100% across the board. And so then from there, where do you go next? How do you look at the data and insights to say, okay, well, is it when we put the more commercial message in the first frame or the third frame, or, is it the second time we post, not the first time? Lots of these things that you can get smarter and smarter with, as you do more. And I think that's really important for brands to put into perspective, that it's not an immediate fix, and that you have to adapt and just be agile with how you're thinking about these platforms. And they're making it easier and easier for brands to test and learn and do things in low risk ways, and then also make it really easy to spend a lot of money and dial up your media investments too, right? And so it's this like progression that I think is so important. And I think that's a good way to maybe wrap up the conversation and, the day and the time that everyone spent with Brand Innovators. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for closing
Thank
out
you.
such an amazing day on e-commerce, CPG, and retail. Three really big important areas of, the business that we're all in. I'm happy to have got to know you and a little bit more about your business, and then hearing from the
Likewise.
other great speakers as well. And so thanks a lot. It was great to spend some time with you today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. And so, want to also personally thank everyone for spending the longer duration of time with Brand Innovators and getting to learn a little bit more about gen.video and how we view the future of influencer marketing as well. We hope you all will join us again for our next Brand Innovators livecast, which is Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern on music, audio, and podcasts. We have senior marketers from Anheuser-Busch, Republic Records, iHeartMedia, Salesforce, Amazon Music, American Express, Headspace, and many more. Wow, that was a mouthful. Lots of awesome brands and companies. But all right, well, thank you for joining everyone, and we